hello there.
Hello there. Oh my
Happy
gosh.
Sunday. Thank you for joining us for 5 minutes with Robert Nasir.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
With Amy Nasir.
That's me.
That's her. That's the name of the show.
Amy Nasir Show.
The Amy Nasir
Welcome,
Show.
everybody.
Welcome to the Amy Nasir Show. Someday we will explain the name of the show. And today is not that day. This is Sunday, May 24th, 2020, the 145th day of the year. 221 days left in the year.
That's all, folks. That's all we have to go. And we'll be smooth sailing from there.
That's right. Piece of cake. 215 days until Christmas.
Yeah.
160 days until Halloween. And I've finally seen the film, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
He did. We watched it last night.
Now I know what all the hullabaloo is about. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But on this day in history, May 24th, in the year 1883, the Brooklyn Bridge opened.
Oh, now that's good.
The Brooklyn Bridge is 137 years old.
And it's still standing.
And it's still standing. It's had some refurbs and upgrades, but 1,595 feet long. The first large cable suspension bridge and the longest bridge when it was built. 127 feet above water. Amazing. You New Yorkers should be proud of that, among other things. Today's holidays include, well, today would have been Indianapolis 500 Day, but it's been postponed to August 23rd.
Just have to get your Matchbox cars out, in your driveway. And, make them crash and, put some pyrotechnics together and some firecrackers.
That's right. Now you can pre-order tickets, and during these times we advise patronizing the businesses that you want to see open.
Yes.
In the next month, 2 months, 3 months, however long it takes for them to do their thing. So buy those tickets now. It's also National Brothers Day. So I would like to give a shout out to my brothers, Paul and Michael. And also my extended brothers, Richard and Rob. And my brother, Robbie. And my brothers in spirit.
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
And Andy and Paul. And all of the good men on Team Glow. You know who you are.
And the other Mark.
That's right.
And the mysterious Allan.
That's right. I also have to give a special shout out to my brother in spirit, Ron Toole. I did make a note so I didn't forget that.
And Paul.
Yes, Paul.
Yes.
I mentioned Paul, but I didn't mention Paul. But I did mention Paul. But Ron Toole, John Het to those in the know.
Yes.
Not only a patron of this show.
Thank you. Thank you, mister.
But the man who purchased this microphone.
Yes. Beautiful. Lovely microphone.
By Blue Microphones, the Blue Bird original version. One of the best studio microphones that you can buy without spending $10,000. It's almost a crime that after the magnificent albums and records that have been recorded with this microphone, hits by Mick Ives and the 222s and Jeff Het and Ron Toole and the Capitalists' last single, He Who Must Die, after all those fantastical musical recordings
that you all know well,
now it's being used as a podcast microphone. But
yes, I thought you were going to say the recordings were crimes.
One of them could have been. Is it a crime to threaten somebody who's no longer president of the United States?
I think it probably is.
That's right. But I've said it before, you, dear listeners, are good friends and lovers. You deserve the best.
Yes, you do.
And you also deserve the best audio from 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir.
Yes.
So thank you, John. We are thinking of you during challenging times.
And I want to give a shout out to Jennifer and Holly and Brian and Linda. Thank you for being here with us today.
Wonderful. Wonderfulness. What are we listening to? Our podcast of the week is Kirk Barbera's Troubadour magazine podcast. And he has been interviewing Luke Travers, the man behind art in the United States.
Yes.
Well, art appreciation. We know who's behind art sales in the United States.
He's the only person he's the only person doing art appreciation in the best way.
Well, he's developed his own way, so
Luke
he is the man.
Travers.
So, go listen to Kirk Barbera's latest episode of his Troubadour magazine podcast with Luke Travers. A link will be, as always, in the show notes. That's right. The description was, in this episode, Luke Travers and Kirk Barbera surprise each other, and hopefully you too with art. They chose a topic, memory and loss, and each chose a work of art to surprise the other with.
Yes, a painting and a poem, respectively.
That's right, because Luke is the master of the visual arts, and Kirk is a master of poetry and prose.
Mm-hmm.
Memory and loss are part of the human experience, whether you're 15 or 100. How we deal with loss and how we remember that which we have lost will change. In this episode, Luke and Kirk will discuss two artists' conception of this topic and explore the ways in which it impacts our lives.
It's pretty good, and you should check it out.
Yes. And one of the reasons we're connecting that to this week's show is because we are talking about letting it go and coping and dealing with challenges and...
That song,
Paul McCartney and Wings song?
Yeah.
Letting Go.
Or
That's right.
that punk rock song goes, let it go.
That's right.
Let it go, let it go, let it go.
That's right. There's another one out there, but whatever works for you. So we are talking about letting it go and dealing with the challenges of social networks, personal relationships during interesting times.
Yes.
We talked about challenging times last week, but Amy wanted to talk specifically about coping with some of the craziness out there.
Coping with craziness.
That, to me, is an irresistible topic. Did you want to get into your notes right away, or shall I launch?
Oh, I don't know. I see a lot of you are on Facebook. Hello, Regina. Thanks for joining us. And so, as Facebook users ourselves, I kind of put together, my interpretation of letting it go on Facebook. Just let it go. It's okay. You don't need to respond. You're not obligated. And
well, I know you've got more to say than just walk away because I had a preview of your notes.
Yes, you did. You saw it
So
beforehand.
what does that mean to you?
So basically, well, first and foremost, as we are a value-oriented space here, safe value-oriented space, go ahead and list those reasons why you like Facebook or social media in general or Facebook. What do you get out of it? I kind of, came up with the ideas of, memes that make me laugh. I love to see friends being happy and to see what their successes are. I'd like to see, their progression of their children's lives, perhaps, and, sharing happy memories. And I like to share my own. I like to share my... sometimes my own struggles even, and I love to get the visibility that Facebook provides from people that I like, and I also like to ask for advice, and I've gotten some really great advice, by the way. Thanks for those who responded to my question about vegan recipes. So #herbivore, and that was wonderful. I love to see that. I was very surprised, and so I got a lot out of that this week, actually, on Facebook. I probably stayed on there a little bit too much, but, it's also really good for, major announcements in your life, a new job, sadly, death in the family, things like that. But it's good for those sorts of things. But I always make sure that if I'm on it, I got to ask myself, I got to check in with myself and say, hey, Amy, how are you feeling about this right now? Is this draining you? Is this depressing you? Is this giving you anything positive? Is this inspiring you? Or, because oftentimes you go to your news feed and you scroll down and it's just like this roller coaster of emotions. Ha ha one time, so sad the next time, and it's just kind of exhausting. So you need to kind of check in with yourself and see how that's actually affecting you. And, and if you get into a situation where you've got conflict on Facebook, or really in your life in general, you don't have to respond. You don't have to like the comment. You can just kind of let it go and let it just lie there. Maybe come back to it later if you feel up to responding. Or sometimes you may actually be up to responding in a positive way, or in a lighthearted way, or in a funny way. Something that would communicate to your friend who has just challenged you, and perhaps they're thinking, oh no, I hope I didn't, peeve Amy off or anything like that. Just to assure them that you didn't, that you're still their friend. Because you know what? Honestly, think about all these little micro emotions you go through when you're on Facebook. All these ups and downs, and wondering if you're actually, providing value to other people, or, it's really difficult to communicate on Facebook. And I really prefer talking to people on the phone or in person. But yeah, again, I mean, this is something that is, if you're not obligated, sometimes you can even delete something if you want to. It's only Facebook. And I know it feels like you've written something down, it's there forever, it's set in stone. Oh my gosh, you're so embarrassed because you wrote that. You know what? Let all that go, because Facebook is supposed to be something that's fun to do, and it's supposed to be helping you make your relationship stronger, and it's also supposed to be helping you learn more about your acquaintances and enjoy the people who are on there with you. So there's my story about Facebook, everybody. And everyone lived happily ever after.
You mentioned that, and something that didn't occur to me to take notes on, so I couldn't resist looking it up.
Ooh.
Somebody had posted, does social media make you happy? I mean deep down happiness, an improvement in one's life, not just passing moments of pleasure. And my answer to that reminded me, I think I take Facebook more seriously than a lot of people, probably more seriously even than you do. Mm-hmm. Because to me, Facebook is just a blank page, a platform. It's what you do with it.
Yep.
It's sort of oriented towards light and fluffy, and even Mark Zuckerberg and other people at Facebook have said, look, this was never intended to be a platform for serious discussions. But it is a blank slate, and I am all for having serious discussions, as folks may have noticed. Mm-hmm. But to me, serious doesn't mean down or negative, right, or bickering, contentious.
Or guilt-mongering or anything like that.
So when somebody said, does Facebook make you happy, my answer was deeply. Apply your standards and get your result. Reason, joy, purpose, intentionality, focus, benevolence, love. Mm-hmm. At least in my experience, the folks who seem to be the most miserable or angry or just meh online are the ones who use Facebook for mocking and sneering and complaining and criticizing and arguing. Mm-hmm. And those who wallow in malevolent jokes, dank memes, unromantic and unsexy smut, overcompensating braggadocio, and self-effacing humor. This can and should be so much more. Life is too short for it to be anything less. And I think that's true of everything that you put any of your time and energy into.
That's true.
Life's short. There's no throwaway moments.
Yes.
Whether those throwaway moments are time wasted at home, time wasted staring at your phone, time wasted on Facebook, time wasted is not a good idea.
Yeah.
The other comment somebody asked, would you pay for Facebook? What if Facebook wasn't free? Now, people have tried this as a way of weeding out the hooey. Jordan Peterson started I think with Ben Shapiro, started ThinkSpot.ts. And the idea is you do an intellectual forum where you don't get the lightweight nonsense because you make people pay for it. Mm-hmm. Now you've got another platform starting up, Locals.com. Yes. That one might be a little more successful because it's subscribing by the specific content and not by the platform. So, for example, Yaron Brook is trying that. Amy Peikoff is now going to be on Locals. Hopefully they'll have success with that. Mm-hmm. But Facebook never had to be a swamp. So people have asked, would you pay for Facebook? My answer was, oh, hell yeah. I already pay for Facebook in time and energy,
That's true.
which incidentally is a lot more valuable than anything in my wallet. Time is finite.
It is.
So is your energy. Some people will say, well, if you're not paying for it, that means you're the product. A very clever observation about...
Sheeple!
Yeah, you sheeple. Yeah. There's truth to that. You, in a sense, are the... But you're not really the product.
No.
The product are all those ads they throw at you.
Right.
So I wrote, I already pay for Facebook in time and energy. And I provide them with extraordinary content. So would I also drop some cash on it? If I wouldn't, then I'm doing something way wrong. If this platform isn't worth more than $0 to you, you might want to reconsider what you're doing with your precious time and energy.
Yes.
I don't think it's really worth $0 to most people who are on Facebook. They're just not used to thinking of it as something they'd be willing to pay for. If you're not, it's something to think about.
Right. It is.
But we were talking about being contentious on Facebook. And what do you do when folks are downers
Yeah.
or angry or bickering or making you feel like you have to fight
Right.
or fight back
Yes.
or defend yourself?
And then it becomes a compulsion. You're like, I feel obligated.
Yeah, and it's not...
That's where, you have to introspect and say, reel it in.
Yeah, we've joked
Gotta step
about that.
back.
The whole something is wrong on the internet. I have to stay up all night and answer it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a part of this conversation. So I've talked about rising above that. And so the word of the day is transcendence. I have touched on the topic before, and my goal is to write a whole chapter in my forthcoming book
Yes.
and produce a whole separate episode just on the topic of transcendence. But briefly, transcendence is exceeding the usual limits, extending beyond ordinary limits or experience, being universally applicable or significant. So that which transcends the day-to-day or the pragmatic. Almost like a principle.
Almost like a principle.
But the point is that when you have these moments that are not of value to you, but you
Right.
feel action is required, I have to defend myself, I have to say something, I have to do something.
Yes. Or even worse, I was going to mention earlier, if you find yourself where you're on Facebook and you are seeking and finding validation for a negative viewpoint of your own or a negative evaluation of other people, that's when you've got to wait a minute, stop yourself there and try not to, try to put yourself in a better frame of mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because where's the value in that?
Right.
So when I talk about transcending, I'm talking about rising above and extending beyond and realizing you are so much larger than that moment, that interaction,
Yes.
even that platform.
Right.
I've talked about the world is here for you, not you for the world. And the same is true for Facebook. Yeah, Facebook isn't here so that you can be a little thing on Facebook. Facebook's here for you. It is what you want it to be, what you make of it. And if there's part of it that's not of value to you, yes, you can walk away from that.
Walk away.
And it's not just
away.
a platform, it's some other guy out there that you're interacting with. Some gal who's giving you, it's an actual person, and you may think, well,
Yeah.
that's an actual person.
It's an actual
I need
person.
to engage.
Yeah.
But why?
But why?
But why? What is the worst that could happen? Somebody might form a negative opinion of you.
Right.
Somebody might think you're not willing to fight. Well, if you've been on Facebook for a while, people can tell if you have testicular fortitude or not.
Right.
It's not diminishing of your manliness or womanliness.
Right. Or they may say, well, this person is not morally condemning this other person. This person must not be well integrated or principled or
Oh,
da-da-da-da-da.
yes.
And
I am holier than thou.
holier than thou.
Holier. Objectivists know what I mean by that.
Those are always fun little carousels to get on, No. But we've got a couple of comments. Jennifer says, I have deleted comments when I decided I wasn't making sense.
So I love that because And I swear I wrote this down. I'm not just making this up because Jennifer said that. Facebook tip. You can delete a lot of hooey just by deleting a post or a comment. Now that's considered rude if people have replied to one of your comments and then you delete your comment, all their replies go away. Kind of rude. But what if you left a comment and all the replies are just nastiness? They're just unpleasantries. They're just something which, if they went away, no harm, no foul, no loss to the world, and one less thing for you to worry about.
That's very true.
So I love that comment
Yeah,
from Jennifer.
so I mean, I've actually done this as well. I've certainly deleted something when I'm like, no, I'm just, I just don't want to post that. Or I've written something, and then I'm like in the third, fourth sentence, I'm like, wait a minute, I am not going to post this, and I delete it. Just hit the backspace and it's gone.
Oh, heck yes. The principle there is, and I will get back to this toward the end, you, and I mean you, Jennifer, and I mean you, each individual person out there listening to this, you're more important. You are more important than your rivals or adversaries.
Right.
We did an episode on allies.
Yes.
How sometimes we rip on our own, and I said, well, you should treat your allies better than your adversaries. Here's the thing. Your adversaries, you don't have any obligation to treat them well. Now, obviously, you want to treat them by your standards, and presumably those are high standards. But if what they really deserve is for you to simply make them go away, make them go away.
You don't need to engage.
That's right.
We have another comment here by Linda, and she says, I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook. I love the personal connections. I hate the censorship, especially where it pertains to the art in the gallery at quencordaire.com, or cordaire.com, I should say. But yeah, it's...
Because we're talking about art, we're talking about nudity, naked bodies. That doesn't even seem the right language to use.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, there's nudity in art.
There's anatomy in art.
And unfortunately, Facebook has all of the nuance of a 12-year-old in figuring that out.
Sledgehammer.
Yeah. And so I absolutely understand why Linda finds that a source of consternation.
Yes.
But yes, let it go doesn't mean evade. If you're evading, stop in your tracks, figure out what you're doing, re-engage, or at least re-engage internally and figure out what you're thinking. But no, if something is not of value to you, you have no duty to address it. But even more than that, rising above or transcending doesn't even always mean walking away. Sometimes it means taking your own thinking up to a higher level. Part of mastery, which we've talked about. Ask yourself, well, if I was really the master of this situation, say this conversation or this argument or this back and forth, what would I do?
Right.
And here's a fun one. You occasionally see this as a movie trope. Sometimes the most masterful thing you can do is lose.
Oh. Like in Thumb Wars, you know.
That's right. Well, obviously, if you're wrong, you should admit you're wrong.
Yeah.
But sometimes the right thing to do is to say, I'm not prepared to continue this discussion, or I'm not interested in continuing this discussion.
Right.
Or I don't agree with you, but you've been reasonable so far. Or to just say, well, given what you said, I may be wrong. See, what we said before, if you win an argument, you learn nothing.
Yes.
All you do is say what you knew. If you lose an argument, you've learned something. You've gained something.
Yes, you have.
If you win, well, it's great to win. It's good to be sure of yourself. But if you lose, you actually gain a value. You gain clarification or you gain new knowledge. Part of being in a position of mastery over a discussion is realizing what really matters is your relationship to the truth. And not the other person, not how you look, not that minor blow to your self-esteem, which, assuming it's solid, should be trivial. But what is your relationship to what's really the truth out there?
all that stuff out there that your senses are taking in, and it's real. Yep.
But what if you lose an argument or appear to lose an argument or some other kind of conflict to a rival, but you know they weren't right. You know they didn't deserve to win. You know you weren't wrong. Because I think that's part of the source of some of the frustration you talked about.
Yeah.
But here I would go back a couple episodes where we said, you can forget without forgiving. You don't need to carry that baggage with you. You get to choose that.
Yeah.
You get to choose what you care about.
Right. Right. And if it's a situation where, as on Facebook, everybody's watching, and you're writing things down, it's there forever, and you think to yourself, well, I'm right, that person's wrong. You know what? Those people who will know better, you can trust them. They will see that, there's a conflict there, and it wasn't so much that I was wrong or that they were wrong or right, but you need to trust other people, your other friends, to actually evaluate what's going on and objectively. And so you need to trust them to do that. So if it's one of those situations where you're really unhappy because you're thinking to yourself, well, this is making me look like a fool in front of my friends, for instance, you know what? You may be underestimating your friends.
Yes, definitely. The other thing is, if you're feeling that indignation, you can redirect that in a useful direction too. You can get indignant with your own indignation and remind yourself, oh yeah, I'm larger than this situation. This should not matter to me.
Right.
Even if I'm wrong or even if it's unjust, I will take the action required to resolve the injustice. But I don't have to care if everybody got it, if the bad guy got it. Here's a good tip. How to make yourself indignant at your own indignation.
Indignant at your own indignation?
That's right. How to stop putting up with your own stuff.
Are you saying that we're all, not entirely perfect, serenely peaceful inside all the time?
Not until I'm done with you. There was an old expression. I first heard it on talk radio programs, Mark Scott. Maybe Rush Limbaugh.
Excelsior.
This idea that when somebody is talking about you, you are, put up the air quote marks, you are living rent-free in their head. Now, I hate that expression.
It's terrible.
But because I hate that expression, I find it useful. In that I'm indignant at the idea that I would be letting anybody become all-consuming within my psychology, that I would let anybody matter to me unless I've chosen to let them matter to me.
No less gloating that you are annoying somebody and you're in their head and like you're supposed to be proud of this or something. That's crazy.
Yes, so even if you can't, just as an act of will, decide, I'm not going to care about this guy anymore, this girl anymore, whatever it is, you can say, am I going to let that person live rent-free in my head? It's such a disgusting expression that I find it works well in this case.
Yes, it's good to use it as a question when you're introspecting, for sure.
Yes.
Yes, Jim is on with us. He says, I just got here, but it sounds like what you all are talking about is the necessity for achieving an objective perspective on your values and on the hierarchy of your values.
Just so.
Yeah.
Yes. You can't always choose to win, but you can choose to lose admirably, graciously,
Yep.
in the manner you want to see others handle losing.
I see.
So, how would your heroes handle losing or being wrong? That's what you can do. That's what I can do. That's what I try to do.
So you actually have that power to choose how you're going to respond to those sorts of things.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. Vince Lombardi was quoted as saying, show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser. But you know, that's effective when you're a football coach. It's an effective thing to say at the beginning of a game. More realistically, he also said winning isn't everything, but wanting to win is. And that's more reasonable.
That's certainly something where the locus of control is still is you, and it's something you can do, and you're not feeling helpless about things.
And Vince Lombardi is great on the competition realm, but we talked about, there are 3 fundamental aspects of life. And for some of us, competition is 90% of what we do. For some of us, cooperation is 90% of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
For some of us, creation, independent creation is 90% of what we do. But Vince Lombardi's good anyway.
Of course, he's very good.
The measure of who we are is what we do with what we have. I couldn't agree with that more.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I want to just give a shout out to Cynthia. Hello, Cynthia. Thanks for joining us. She says, hello, beauties. Well, thank you.
So I distilled all this down into 3 takeaways.
All right.
Number 1, remember who's writing, directing, and starring in this film.
I'm ready for my close-up.
Or some would say, who's driving this bus? Who is the star of your film, your life?
Who is the star of your film and your life?
If you're the writer, you're the director, you're the star, how much does some guy on Facebook,
right,
or some guy in the office, some guy in the street, some guy in real life,
right,
how much of a part is he going to play in your film? Well, who makes that decision? The writer, the director, the star? Or some guy who happened to walk into the studio?
Nope.
Number 1, remember who's writing, directing, and starring in this film, your life.
Yes, that's really a great analogy to your own free will, to making sure that you're making the choices, and that you're not the victim here. You are the one who is directing this film.
I can't wait till we do an episode on free will and volition.
Ooh.
That's going to be awesome.
Hi, Ashley. Did I give a shout out to Ashley? Thanks for joining us.
Although that episode's not going to happen until I choose to do it. Number 2 of your 3 takeaways. Look for opportunities to transcend, to flip a situation over, to do a different thing, to be a little different version of who you are.
Yeah.
To oh, whoa! I did not see that coming.
Oh, live on camera, we're transcending.
I don't know. Mine, yours looks good. You look pretty cool. Better.
That's okay. Yeah.
Do a different thing. Be a little different version of who you are. Experiment, play, be creative, be silly. Did you read that? Is that where that came from?
No.
And to be larger than life. Obviously, if you're larger than life, that's now life. That's what it is. I don't mean transcendence in some mystical hooey sense.
Right.
But look for those opportunities to transcend, to say, well, I'm not going to do what I'm inclined to do, what I'd normally do, what I immediately think of doing. I'm not even necessarily going to do what I think is right until I think, is that the only thing I can do?
Right.
It never is.
Mm-hmm.
Look for those opportunities. And number 3, be accepting of reality. Accept that sometimes life, Facebook, what we're going through with COVID-19.
You said the C word.
Sometimes you're going to be sad. And it's right to be sad. Sometimes you will fail. And it is all right to fail. Sometimes you're going to be angry.
Yep.
It's going to happen. Sometimes you will break.
Like I did last week.
Like we did last week. If you've never broken, or if you haven't broken in a long time, probably a good thing, but people are breakable.
Mm-hmm.
And every now and then you get a Star Trek head tilt moment where your computer fails because it's all too much.
Yeah.
Or it's just something you can't address without taking a moment, or a day, or a week.
Or a week. Jennifer gives us a sad face.
But here's the thing. Oh, Jennifer.
It's okay. It's
Don't
gonna
be sad
all
because
right.
because here's the thing. Every one of you who has ever been sad, who has ever been angry, who has ever failed, or who has ever been broken, whatever damage it did, you made it. You're here right now. You're going to be sad. You're going to be angry. You're going to fail.
Yep.
Sometimes you're going to be broken.
Yes.
You will get back up again. As
Yes.
Lombardi says, that's what matters. And the more you function from a position of strength, the more you will transcend that.
Yes.
So my Post-it note for the week, because every week we have a Post-it note, and in this case, I often say you can put this on your bathroom mirror, or you can put this on your refrigerator, or any place where you're going to... Well, this one you have to put on your mirror. Bathroom mirror, or a mirror that you look at regularly.
Isn't that adorable?
And this is just to remind you, and if you can't see it, or if you're listening to the audio, it says, written by,
And it has an arrow going horizontally.
and an arrow. This is just to remind you, you are the writer.
Mm-hmm.
You are the director. You are the producer, so you've got to come up with the money. And you are the star of this life.
And if you put it on your mirror and you look in the mirror and you say hello to yourself in the mirror and you say, hey, I can look at myself in the mirror, and you put it right there, it'll say written by, and it'll be pointing at your head.
Which is as it should be.
Yes.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Everybody should be in the spotlight, at least now and then.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that means you've got to get up and stand on the table or go to that karaoke bar. Whatever it takes.
Or set up karaoke in your backyard.
You need to have the spotlight on you because it's a reminder that, in fact and in reality, the spotlight's on you all the time.
Yeah.
This is your life. These are your people.
Yes.
And you are the star.
Yes. Oh, love you too, Jennifer.
So with that said, past episodes and show notes for 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir are available online at facebook.com/Robert Nasir. See, if you're the star, you get to put on the funny voice.
Yes.
Find us at youtube.com/Robert Nasir. If you'd like to support the show, as many have,
So many.
I can't
It's
believe it.
the most popular thing out there.
It's, yes, patreon.com/Robert Nasir, or contact us for the PayPal address.
Yes. Or if you want to do karaoke on a trampoline,
Karaoke on a trampoline, come
just
to GlowCon.
let us know anytime.
We've done it before, we'll do
done
it
it.
again. Trampoline karaoke is a thing.
Thank you to Cynthia for reminding us about that.
I don't know if we ever posted video of that. I don't know if we got a release to post video of that.
Oh, I think we have video. It's fantastic.
So as always, show notes will be posted right after the episode. If you have any questions or comments that you didn't already enter into the chat, you can enter them into our group, 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir on Facebook, or send them to me directly.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime,
Yes.
unless my co-host here has anything yet to say, this must be the least graceful ending of a show we've ever done. Quick, think of something else to say.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you all for joining us. Thanks to Sandy and to Ron and to and especially to Cynthia and Linda and Jennifer. You guys are the best.
2 guys walk into a bar. You'd think the second one would have ducked.
But
So with that, we wish you success. We wish you flourishing. We wish you good coping skills and the willingness to just walk away from the bozos.
Transcend.
Transcend and love.